Our producer, Kristen, went through the headlines, and after familiarizing herself with your brand, we pulled a few. So I'm going to read them, and would love to get your perspective on them. All right. So this is not really a headline, but it's something we found. We digged a little bit about you online. So Megan, you worked with a food scientist with a master's in adaptogens and a sacred plant medicine shaman to come up with Little Saints. So according to many news articles out there, adaptogens are taking center stage in stress reduction. Do you agree, and why?
I absolutely agree because there's so much neuroscience backing it up. Like that we also like have a neuroscience advisor at Little Saints that like gives us the like rundown on how the reishi mushroom and the CBD, which are both adaptogens, are actually like affecting our brain chemistry when we ingest them. And so um I'll just give you the reason why adaptogens are taking center stage is because we have relied on alcohol for relaxation. And what happens with alcohol is it boosts your serotonin and your dopamine for like an hour or two, and it takes you above that baseline. But then it actually like dips below the baseline and it makes you feel depressed and anxious. Like from a neuroscience perspective, it doesn't matter who you are that drinks. Whereas adaptogens don't do that. Adaptogens give you like a little boost, like not as much as alcohol. They're not intoxicating, but they give you that little serotonin dopamine boost. And to remind everyone, like serotonin is like that relaxed, good mood feeling, and dopamine is like the more like fun energy uplifted. And so that's why adaptogens are so studied, because they have the ability to boost serotonin and dopamine with no like negative side effects like alcohol. So they're going to help you like sustain that better mood, better energy, less stress longer.
All right, headline. Even with inflation, there is a rising demand for healthy food and beverages, which is expected to propel growth. Do you agree? And how do you balance the inflation concern with consumers and pretty much all your stakeholders as you scale Little Saints?
I think that what we saw during the pandemic is that people, were worried about spending, but they weren't worried about spending on food and alcohol. Like health is wealth, right? And Gen Z, for example, I'm really fascinated by all the statistics about Gen Z. They only 20% of them drink regularly, whereas like over 55% of Gen X drinks regularly. They're really like focused on their mental health, and they're really kind of leading the way and us all being more focused on our mental health. And also thankfully there's a lot more education out there that like what we eat and what we drink is, creating our reality. And that's really like affecting our mental health. And so we've seen people's spending maybe get cut in other areas that aren't related to mental health. But we really see people prioritizing their mental health and their spending, and that means food and beverage.
I appreciate the optimism too. So often when that topic gets brought up, it can be a pretty, gloomy style response. So I love to hear this positive perspective. Thank you. All right. Headline from Vogue. Vogue wrote, quote, "No one is drinking anymore." Vice News declared, quote, "Alcohol lost its cool." Tell us your thoughts.
Listen, so I have a very lucky position in that I mentioned I am a proud Midwesterner from Wisconsin, like still keep up with like all my Midwestern friends dearly. And I also have been living on the coast for Little Saints. So I've sort of seen it all. First, we'll talk about statistics, and then we'll talk about my personal experience. Statistics are that, people are like, so that 55% of Gen X drinks, 42% of millennials drink, 21% of Gen Z drinks. And I think that, we're always looking at like youth to see like, what the trends are. And I think those like non-drinking trends are really catching on. So we started to see, like you were talking about the one in Indianapolis, we're starting to see non-alcoholic bars pop up. We're starting to see non-alcoholic shops. And it is starting to be cool to not drink. Whereas like maybe, when we had tried like a month off or whatever, like a couple years ago, maybe 5 years ago, we might have gotten judged. It might have been like, what's wrong with you? I mean, I still go to restaurants and I order like a non-alcoholic beer and they're like, are you okay? You know what I mean? Like there's still like is some judgment, but it's definitely it's definitely hitting mainstream culture now. And that Vogue article was super interesting because it's talking about how, like, I mean, it's been happening for a while, but it's more like written about now, like people in fashion, people in industry, like people in entertainment, like aren't drinking anymore. And it's not like there's something wrong with them. It's like, no, actually they're prioritizing their mental and physical health, and this is cool.